I still remember the smell. It hit me before I saw them. The stench of old garbage and sweat, thick and sour, leaking through the cracked bedroom door. I thought something had gone bad in the kitchen, but I followed the sound, a low grunt, a breathy laugh, and opened the door without knocking. She didn't see me at first. He did. He was standing at the foot of our bed, still in his city sanitation jumpsuit, pants down around his ankles. My wife, Claire, was on her knees in front of him. And the look he gave me, it wasn't shame. It was amusement. He raised one eyebrow, then winked. My wife didn't even turn around. She just kept going. That moment broke me in half. I didn't shout, didn't throw anything. I didn't even speak. My legs went cold. I backed out of the room like a ghost and walked straight into the kitchen, where I threw up in the sink. And then I just stood there, gripping the edge of the counter, feeling like I was falling through the floor. Claire came out 3 minutes later, fully dressed, sipping from her water bottle like she'd just finished a workout. She didn't apologize. She didn't cry. She leaned against the fridge, smirking. You weren't supposed to be home till 5. My voice cracked. Who is he? She snorted. Frank. Works the sanitation route on Maple and 3rd. You've seen him before. Always waving at me like a little puppy. I figured, why not? I didn't understand. Claire was a marketing director. She wore heels to bed. Her perfume cost more than my car payment. And she was with a garbage man? You're not serious, I whispered. She walked over, tapped my chest with her finger. Maybe if you'd acted like a man once in the past 5 years, I wouldn't need someone who actually knows how to take control. It hit me so fast I couldn't breathe. I wanted to yell, to ask why, to do something. But all I did was nod. She tilted her head. Are you going to cry now? I didn't answer. I just walked into the living room and sat down like a child who got scolded. And as I sat there, heart shattered and mind blank, I realized one thing. I wasn't angry enough to leave her. Not yet. Because some sick part of me still loved her. And she knew it. The next morning, I made her coffee. I don't know why. Habit, maybe. Or fear. I set her mug on the table just like always, almond milk, 2 sugars, and waited for her to come down. She didn't say thank you. She never did. She sat, scrolled through her phone, took a sip, then looked up at me like I was furniture that somehow offended her. You're really just going to sit there? She asked. I blinked. What do you mean? Claire laughed, not loud, just sharp and short, like I was the punchline to a private joke. You saw what happened yesterday. You know what I've been doing. And you still made me coffee. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. She leaned forward, eyes narrowing. You're pathetic. You know that? That one landed. I felt it in my chest, like she'd reached in and pressed down on my lungs. But I didn't defend myself. I couldn't. I just looked down at my hands. I'm not going to apologize, she continued. Frank's not my mistake. He's my upgrade. My breath caught. I looked up slowly, hoping she'd take it back. That maybe she was trying to provoke me into finally standing up for myself. But she wasn't. She meant it. You used to have something, she said. Now? You're just soft. Afraid of everything. I need a man who can get his hands dirty. I swallowed hard. So you pick a trash man? He works, she said, smiling. You overthink. The words didn't make sense, but they didn't have to. She was dismantling me piece by piece, and I was letting her. That night, she came home late again. I didn't ask where she'd been. I didn't have the strength. I sat on the couch while she went upstairs, humming some song I didn't recognize. 10 minutes later, I heard the shower running. Then her laughter. She wasn't alone. I crept up the stairs like a burglar in my own house, trembling. I pressed my ear to the bathroom door. 2 voices. One hers. The other his. Frank. I went back downstairs and sat at the kitchen table for 2 hours, staring at a black mug filled with cold coffee. I thought about packing a bag. I thought about calling someone. Anyone. But I did nothing. Because I still believed there was something left worth saving. Because I didn't want to admit to the world, or myself, that I'd lost her completely. And Claire? She knew that. She was counting on it. It started small. I opened a blank Google Doc and titled it, Contingency. I didn't know why I used that word. Maybe it made me feel less like a villain. Like this wasn't revenge, it was backup. Insurance. Something logical and clean. The truth was, I had no clue what I was doing. But I knew one thing. She wasn't going to stop. Frank was just the beginning. There'd be others. She enjoyed it, not just the betrayal, but the humiliation. The power of watching me stay. She wore it like a new perfume. That sick confidence. And the worst part? I was still sleeping in the guest room. In my own house. I paid the mortgage. She brought him here. That morning, I noticed her car keys on the counter while she was in the shower. My heart raced. I took her key fob and opened the trunk. Just to look. There it was. A dirty city-issued safety vest. A pair of steel-toe boots crusted with grease. A rolled-up fast food bag that reeked of old fries and something sweet-sour. Proof of how little she cared. She didn't even bother hiding the scent of him anymore. That was the first time I felt it. Not sadness. Not panic. Something new. Control. So I started gathering. Bank statements. I logged into our shared accounts, savings, mortgage, joint credit card. I took screenshots, downloaded PDFs, created a private folder on a cloud drive under a name no one would ever open. Old Tax Docs 2012. Then I checked her phone bill. We shared a plan, another mistake. Dozens of calls to one number. I copied it, cross-checked it, ran it through a reverse lookup site. It wasn't just Frank. There were others. Plural. I didn't cry. That night, while she was out again, I sat in the dark and opened that blank doc. Page 1, timeline. Page 2, assets. Page 3, passwords. I wasn't ready to do anything yet. Not really. But the pieces were forming. If Claire wanted a war, I had to learn the rules. Even if I was still scared. Even if I still loved her. She wasn't expecting me to fight back. That was her first mistake. She didn't notice anything at first. Claire still came home late, humming that same off-key melody. She still tossed her heels by the door like I didn't exist. Still left her phone face down on the counter like it was a bomb only she knew how to defuse. But I had started my own melody. And it was quiet. First, I created a new checking account. Just my name. Then, over 2 weeks, I began rerouting the auto deposits from my paycheck. I left just enough in the joint account to avoid suspicion. Gas, groceries, her hair appointments, all still covered. But everything else? Gone. Locked behind a password only I knew. She didn't notice. Then, I called the bank and changed the contact email for our mortgage notifications. From hers to mine. She didn't notice. Then, I did the one thing that felt like a punch in the gut, but I knew it had to happen. I removed her from our shared cloud storage. Quietly. No alert, no message. Just clicked a button and watched her access vanish. Along with every family photo, every document, every folder I'd created in the past 5 years. She didn't notice. Yet. But I did. I noticed how the air felt different. I noticed how, for the first time in months, I stood up straighter when I walked past a mirror. I wasn't powerful, not yet, but I wasn't invisible either. The first real shift happened on a Tuesday. She was late. Again. I was in the kitchen, pretending to clean, when she came in with her purse and a smile that was too wide. "You cooked?" she asked, looking at the stove. "No," I said calmly. "I canceled the gas account. Switched to electric." She frowned. "What? What?" I shrugged. "Just easier to manage. Everything's in my name anyway." She stared at me like I'd spoken another language. Then she narrowed her eyes. "You didn't ask me." "I don't have to," I said. Her face twitched, a tiny crack in her confidence. She didn't say anything else that night, but I heard her moving around upstairs later. Pacing, opening drawers, probably realizing some of her files were gone. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling, heart racing, hands cold. That was my first strike. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it landed. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't the only one awake in the dark. It started with her laugh. Not the usual smirk. Not the sarcastic chuckle. This was different. Louder. Meaner. I was brushing my teeth when she leaned into the bathroom doorway, arms crossed, a folded paper in her hand. "You thought you were slick, huh?" I froze. Toothbrush still in my mouth. She waved the paper. "Bank statement," she said. "From the old mail folder you forgot to delete. Cute new checking account, by the way. Who taught you that trick? One of your little Reddit revenge threads." I rinsed my mouth, heart pounding. "I wanted space," I muttered. She stepped closer, fire in her eyes. "No, you wanted secrecy. You wanted to play grown-up behind my back, and you're not good at it. She tossed the statement on the counter. You moved money? Okay, then I'll move the house. What are you talking about? She smiled. 3 calls, she said. 1 to my cousin in real estate, 1 to an appraiser, and 1 to my new lawyer. Did you really think I wouldn't see what you were doing? I stayed quiet. She stepped closer. You start a war, you better be ready to finish it. You want to play petty? I'll go nuclear. She walked out. Just like that. That night, I got an email from the mortgage company. Claire had submitted a formal dispute, claimed I was shifting assets without her consent, in violation of marital agreements. I didn't even know that was possible, but apparently it was. And they froze our account until both parties could verify financial stability. She'd found a way to stop everything. Gas, electric, insurance, all flagged for review. I couldn't touch the money I'd just moved. Couldn't even access my own account. The next morning, she casually slid a legal envelope across the table while sipping her coffee. Don't worry, she said. I'm not filing. Yet. But we're going to start doing things my way now. I opened it. Preliminary financial disclosure forms. Asset division breakdowns. Custody checklists. She wasn't bluffing. Then she leaned forward and whispered. Frank says hi, by the way. He thinks it's funny how easy you were to scare. I felt myself shrinking again. Just like before. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just a counterattack. This was her enjoying the kill. She thought she buried me. And for a moment, she did. When the mortgage froze, I panicked. I barely slept. I stared at spreadsheets like they were crime scenes, wondering how to untangle the mess she'd created. But then I remembered something. Claire didn't build this house. I did. Every signature. Every form. Every payment. Her name was there. Yes, but my name was first. So I called a lawyer. Not some guy from Google. I went to an old friend from high school, Marcus Fields. He wasn't flashy. Didn't advertise on buses. But he knew the system. More importantly, he knew Claire. They used to date. Briefly. She dumped him sophomore year for a guy with a motorcycle. That guy's now in prison. Marcus remembered. He met me after hours. We sat in his dim office over takeout Chinese. I laid out everything. The secret bank account, the freezing of assets, the affair with Frank the trash man. Every humiliating detail. He didn't laugh. He took notes. And then he smiled. She's overplaying, he said. Classic move. Thinking emotional control equals legal leverage. Let me handle it. He filed a motion the next morning. Emergency petition to regain access to personal funds and assets used prior to separation. Turns out, she couldn't prove financial instability on my end. Everything was still paid on time. The mortgage company lifted the freeze within 48 hours. I didn't tell her. Instead, I waited. 3 days later, Claire came home waving her phone. They just emailed me. Why did the freeze lift? You did something. I shrugged. Maybe it was a mistake. Her eyes flared. You're not that smart. No, I said. But I don't have to be. I just have to stop being scared. She didn't respond. But that night, I heard her arguing with someone on the phone. I didn't hear the full conversation. But one sentence stood out. I don't care how much garbage he can lift, Frank, he's fighting back now. I smiled in the dark. I didn't have her confidence. I didn't have her cruelty. But I had something she didn't expect. Momentum. And I wasn't going to waste it. It started with a knock on my office door. Not the front door, my home office. The one I always kept locked. Claire was standing there with a USB stick in her hand, and that same look she wore the night I caught her with Frank. Smug. Dangerous. I thought you might want to see what you've been missing, she said, and dropped the drive onto my desk. I stared at it like it might explode. She leaned in. You're not the only one who knows how to save files, sweetheart. I didn't touch it until she left the room. And even then, my hands were shaking. There were 4 folders on the drive. One labeled Finances. One labeled Photos. One labeled Legal. And the last, just called You. I opened that one first. Inside, screenshots of private texts. Mine. From years ago. Old conversations with coworkers, some poorly worded complaints about my job. A few sarcastic comments about Claire during our rough patches. One message I'd sent in frustration to a friend. Sometimes I think I should have married someone else. I feel like I'm drowning in her shadow. Taken out of context, it looked awful. Then I opened Legal. She drafted a fake timeline, one that claimed I had emotionally manipulated her, limited her independence, and retaliated financially when she sought emotional support from others. It was lies, twisted truths strung together with cold precision, and she was planning to use it. The next day, HR called me at work. An anonymous complaint had been filed. Accusations of hostile behavior and emotional volatility. They weren't firing me yet, but I was suspended with pay pending investigation. I knew exactly where it came from. Claire. When I confronted her that night, she didn't deny it. "You want to play with documents?" she said calmly. "I'll show you how it's done. I've been curating your downfall for years, one file at a time." I was stunned, frozen. Again, she stepped closer. "You're not the victim here. You're the fool who stayed too long. You're the ghost in this house. Frank's more alive in this place than you are." I felt my knees weaken, my breath shorten, and she wasn't done. "I'm going to take the house. I'm going to take your job. And when I'm done, no one will remember your name without laughing." She walked out, and I sat in silence, surrounded by walls I built and memories she poisoned. I had lost. Again. But I wasn't out. Not yet. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of fear this time, out of focus. Everything she said kept playing in my head. "I'm going to take the house. I'm going to take your job. I'm going to erase your name." And I realized something I should have seen months ago. Claire wasn't trying to move on. She was trying to erase me. So I started with one small action. I emailed Marcus at 4:12 a.m. Subject line: "Let's end this." He replied at 6:41. One line: "Meet me at 10. Bring everything." I brought the USB. We went through it piece by piece. Every text, every bank record, every fake timeline. Marcus didn't blink. "Half of this is inadmissible," he said. "The other half? If we counter with proof she was unfaithful and malicious, we flip it. What if I lose?" I asked. He looked up. "Then you lose officially. But right now, you're just losing in private. Which is worse?" That hit me. So I went all in. First, we filed for separation, but on my terms. With a motion to request exclusive temporary residence in the home, citing ongoing emotional abuse and malicious interference with my employment. We included statements, chat logs, and screenshots, real ones. Then we filed a cease and desist letter to her place of work, warning of a defamation claim if Claire continued to spread false narratives impacting my career. Her firm couldn't afford PR blowback. Marcus knew someone on their legal board. We sent it directly to them. But the final move? That one was personal. I printed a photo. Just one. Claire and Frank at a truck depot near the waste processing center. She was in his lap. He was still in uniform. The timestamp? Tuesday, 3:41 p.m. She had told her boss she was in a remote strategy meeting that day. She was using PTO under false pretenses. I mailed the photo anonymously to her HR office. Certified envelope. No return address. 2 days later, she came home early. Her face pale. She threw her purse across the room. "You think you're clever?" she hissed. "You're playing dirty now?" I didn't answer. She stepped close, eyes wild. "They put me on leave. HR thinks I'm a liability now. You smug little." I cut her off. "Frank says hi," I whispered. Her hand trembled. She wanted to slap me, but she didn't. She just turned and stormed upstairs. For the first time, I'd taken something from her. Not a document. Not a file. Her control. I should have known she wouldn't stay down. Claire was never the kind of woman who accepted defeat, especially not from me. So when things went quiet for 3 days, I let myself believe it was over. She didn't scream. She didn't retaliate. She just disappeared into her routines. That's when I should have been afraid. On the 4th morning, a letter arrived. Thick envelope. Hand-delivered. My name handwritten on the front, not hers. From the Department of Family and Protective Services. Inside, a notice. An anonymous tip had been submitted, alleging verbal and psychological instability on my part, with potential risk to future children, if any, due to documented volatility and paranoia. I read it 3 times. I almost dropped it. This wasn't just revenge. She was trying to bury me permanently. Claire didn't want custody. We had no kids. But she was creating a record. So that when we divorced, when she took the house, the car, whatever was left, There'd be a paper trail saying I was unfit, unstable, broken. And the worst part? I couldn't prove it was her. She was careful. There were no fingerprints, no email trace, no messages left behind. Just a perfectly placed knife slid into my spine with a smile. I called Marcus in a panic. "She's playing long-term," he said. "She's thinking reputation, legacy, future employment, family. She wants your name poisoned." My heart raced. "What do I do?" He paused. "Nothing rash," he said. "But we're not done." That night, Claire came home humming again. Same song, same smile. She walked past me like I wasn't there, tossed her coat onto the couch, and grabbed a drink from the fridge. When I finally looked up, she said it without turning around. "Next time you send pictures to HR, maybe blur the face." They figured it out. I still have my job. I stared at her. "And you?" she asked. "Still unemployed? Still pathetic?" Then she laughed. Low. Cruel. I said nothing. But inside, something had shifted. Because while she was gloating, I had noticed one thing. On the kitchen counter, half covered by a grocery bag, was a letter she forgot to hide. From the City Ethics Commission, addressed to Frank, care of Claire's full name and home address. My heart stopped. She had lied to her job. She'd violated internal policy, housing a city worker in a private residence while in active business conflict with public sanitation. It was real, documented, official, and it wasn't in my hands. Yet, I walked into the house at 6:07 p.m. In my hand, a sealed envelope. Inside, a copy of the official letter from the City Ethics Commission. Name, Frank Morales. Address, our home. Filed under, undisclosed residency conflict with city contractor. Primary contact, Claire Nichols. I had everything. Every regulation. Every violation. Every clause that linked her name, his name, and our address to a professional ethics breach that could cost both of them their jobs. And not just jobs. Reputation. Professional record. Eligibility for future public work. I'd scanned it. Photographed it. Saved it to 4 separate cloud drives. Printed 3 copies. I labeled the folder on my desktop. Last strike. All I had to do was click send. 1 copy to her company's HR. 1 to the city sanitation board. 1 to the ethics division of the mayor's office. 1 click. And Claire would never recover. But I didn't send it. Not yet. Instead, I printed just 1 copy, slipped it into a plain white envelope, and left it on the kitchen counter. Then I waited. She came home half an hour later, distracted, on her phone, kicking off her heels like nothing had changed. She saw the envelope, picked it up, opened it. Her face didn't move at first. Then her hands started to shake. She read it again. Then she looked at me. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. I didn't answer. She blinked, stepped closer. Her voice cracked. Please don't send this." Still, I said nothing. Claire dropped to her knees. I watched her chest rise and fall, her whole body trembling. She reached out and took my hand. "I messed up," she said. "I was angry. I thought you were weak. I thought you'd never fight back. Tears now. Ugly ones. I don't want to lose everything. I don't want to lose you." My heart beat hard in my throat. My head was screaming. But I stayed still. "Just give me one more chance," she whispered. "I'll never do anything like this again. I swear on everything. I swear on my life." I didn't speak. I just looked at her. This person who had torn me down, humiliated me, mocked me, and now, for once, had nothing. No Frank. No control. No leverage. Just guilt. Just fear. Just me. And I did the last thing she expected. I forgave her. I walked to the computer. Deleted the email draft. I threw the paper into the fireplace. Watched it burn. She cried harder. She hugged my legs. And I let her. She swore it was over. She promised she would change. She said everything a broken person says when they've been caught, cornered, crushed. And I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe I wasn't just weak. I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, people could change when they've lost everything. So I forgave her. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I still ask myself one thing. And what would you have done in my place?